Welcome to Corporate Warrior, the podcast that brings you the best advice on how to improve your health, optimize performance, and maximize productivity. With your host, Lawrence Neal.
This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. Hi there, I am Lawrence Neal and welcome to another episode of Corporate Warrior, the podcast that shows you how to optimize your health and get the most out of your high-intensity training and start and grow your HIIT business. My former guests include the who's who in HIIT, people like Dr. Doug McGuff, Drew Bay and Jim Flanagan, health, fitness and nutrition giants like Mark Sisson and Rob Wolf, successful HIIT entrepreneurs and exercise scientists like Luke Carlson, Dr. James Fisher, Dr. Brad Schoenfeld and many, many more. This episode is also brought to you by the HIIT Business Membership. It's the online blueprint that I have created to help you grow your HIIT business, including exclusive content on sales, marketing, hiring, pricing, retention, and personal training, monthly Q&As with experts, and high-grade community full of thought leaders and HIIT entrepreneurs. If you're interested in joining, please go to corporatewarrior.co/membership. Today's guest is Luke Carlson, who returns for, part 92. He's been on the podcast a ton, and I'm very grateful for that. Luke is a certified exercise physiologist and kinesiologist, cancer exercise specialist, and the founder and CEO of one of the fastest growing and highest revenue per facility, high intensity training businesses in the world, Discover Strength. Luke is also the founder of the Resistance Exercise Conference, the science and application of strength training for health and human performance. You can contact Luke via his email, which is luke@discoverstrength.com, or check out discoverstrength.com. In this episode, we dive into the topic of delegation. Some of the members in the membership have been asking for more resources on delegation and how to delegate effectively. I thought Luke was the perfect person to address this topic in a HIIT business context. We talk about the struggles that business owners have with delegating work and handing off their responsibilities. Luke provides a framework from which to think about delegation for every activity in your business. We discuss common delegation mistakes and much, much more. As always, Luke delivers the goods and provides incredible guidance on how to upgrade your HIIT business. I love recording new content with Luke. And if I had it my way, I'd have Luke on the podcast practically every month. Although I feel like I do because he already contributes a ton of content in collaboration with the Discover Strength team to the HIIT Business Membership. And I really do encourage you to check out the membership over at corporatewarrior.co/membership because it's just a whole treasure trove of content in there on how to upgrade and improve every aspect of your high intensity training business from some of the best in the industry. And anyway, without any further ado, I give you Luke Carlson. Luke, welcome back to the show.
It is my pleasure and my honor to be chatting with you, Lawrence.
I assure you it is. The pleasure is all mine. So yeah, the purpose of this, and obviously it's great to have you back on. Feels like we only spoke yesterday, as we only recently recorded a show together all about revenue generation, which was amazing, by the way, and I've had amazing feedback. So I really appreciate that. One of the other challenges that I guess members, readers, listeners have is delegating the work when growing and starting and growing a strength training business. I often hear about issues with handing off clients. Clients who you've built up close relationships with, handing those off to new staff. And then I suppose delegating other aspects of your business that you want to keep to yourself. So I guess a great way to talk about this and start off talking about delegation is, can you tell the story of how you brought on your first employee and how that was for you?
Yeah, that's a great place to start the conversation. So I had grown a significant client base before I opened the doors. I mean, I was a strength and conditioning coach at a big high school. And so I started personal training essentially on the side, in our facility. In our facility, we had every Medix machine and every Medix Avenger and Hammer Strength and Nautilus. And so, I would take people through workouts into the evening and on the weekends and, whenever I had time. So preparing for our opening, we opened in 2006. And so when we opened, I had a great following that was ready to move over, but I also knew that they weren't going to train with just me. So I hired employees literally from day one. So I went through interview process, interviewed employees, and spent a significant amount of time training in and onboarding a couple of trainers before the business even started or as the business started. So, the first few days that we were open, I trained everybody. But man, by literally the second week, we had trainers training clients. And I wanted to set the precedent right from the beginning that the business wasn't going to be me. It was going to be our trainers, and it was going to be our consistent methodology and the consistent experience that any trainer could really deliver. And I knew, this was the key. I knew that when we opened, the business would be about interchangeable parts. So every trainer is unique and has a different unique personality and charisma and way of doing things. But we had to be interchangeable in terms of the fact that we could work with any client. Otherwise, we just couldn't scale. And if you don't have a shared client model, you're really limiting when the client can actually train. You're limiting when the trainer can go on a vacation. You're limiting what hours the trainer has to work or can work in a given day or week. And so we knew from day one that that's really how it had to be constructed. So from day one, our clients were working with those trainers that I had brought on board.
How did you afford to do that at the very beginning, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I just knew that from day one, we didn't know if a trainer at Discover Strength would really be a full-time career type person, or if we'd grab people toward the end of their college or university degrees, and they would say, "Hey, I would love to personal train part-time." I wasn't sure because I hadn't, I'd visited a number of different businesses and I'd seen different things done in our industry, and I wasn't sure which way we wanted to go. Now, fast forward, 12 and a half years later or 12 years later, I know that we've moved toward every trainer has to be just an educated expert and has to be really an authority on all things strength training and high intensity training. And we want that person to be compensated and really have a career. I didn't know that when we started. So all of my people to start off with were part-time, and part-time was so easy to do. They could work, the busy shifts. So you maybe worked from 6 a.m. until 10, a great 4-hour shift, or you worked from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And when you came in for that 4-hour shift, I knew we were going to be packed with clients. So I would maybe, in the very early days, I would have 1 or 2 trainers working with me from 4 to 8 at night. So I'd be working with my clients. They would be working with their clients. Now, I would be there all day and take the smattering of clients throughout the middle of the day. But during those busy times, that trainer could work with them. So I was just paying the trainer off of every session that they generated. And then I was working with enough clients myself where I could make a living myself and then pay for all of our overhead.
Okay.
And the key there was we wanted the customer, we wanted the potential customer to fall in love with the brand, the company, and not me. And I had an awareness of that I was lucky, but I had an awareness of that in 2006, that they couldn't love me. They had to love the brand. And now 12 years later, I hear this comment all the time from friends and clients, and then friends that run studios, not just in strength training or high intensity training, but all different types of fitness studios, where, man, they have a name of the business, but the customer really only cares about that particular instructor, that particular trainer. And man, that trainer just, they're not truly a business owner. They're just a trainer that bought themselves a job, and they're just married to it in every way.
So do you think, with that in mind, do you think that it's quite dangerous for someone to start a training business with just themselves as a trainer in the beginning? And if not, then how long till they should really start bringing on another trainer if their objective is for the client to see value in the business, not in being dependent on you as a trainer? If that makes sense.
So a couple key thoughts. I don't want to suggest that every business model, that the right decision is to have multiple trainers and try to grow the business in that way. If you are, I'm going to use Doug Holland, for example. If you are a one-man operation and you want to stay a one-man operation, I commend that. I applaud it. I think it's awesome. I think we have a lot of people out there that really should be one-man operations that are struggling to onboard and retain one other or two other trainers, and really they shouldn't be trying to do that. They should stay just a one-man operation. Then the delegation conversation changes. It's still incredibly important. It just changes. And when we think about that, just think about the surgeon, think about the attorney. An attorney is not trying to say, how can I delegate all of these clients to a different attorney? They're saying, no, I want these clients on my schedule. I want to be booking and billing these clients, and I'm going to book and bill accordingly. And as a trainer, I think we can definitely do that. It may change our fee structure, but we can be wildly successful doing that. Now, if we go with a model where we're going to have multiple trainers, then I think it's important that we try to get them integrated as soon as possible. And if we can't get them integrated as soon as possible from a cost perspective, here's the key. We have to have an acute awareness from day one that we are going to migrate toward me being the trainer to our trainers being really the star of the show. And I think that so many of my friends and colleagues, because they've been the trainer for so long, they're never able to actually make that migration to, oh, I'm no longer the trainer now. And it's just that they haven't built the systems. They don't take the time to build the systems. And then it becomes even a mindset thing that I'm the star of the show. It's my ego. I want to be the best trainer in the building. I realized pretty quickly that my goal should be to be like maybe in the top 10 trainers that we have, but I shouldn't be the best trainer. I want other all-stars. One of the things I've been inspired by, and I don't want your listeners to misconstrue this, I've been inspired by the Mayo Clinic. So I live in Minnesota, in the U.S., and we're the home of the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. I mean, arguably the most elite medical institution in the world. And the Mayo Clinic is run. The CEO is an MD, but that MD doesn't see patients. I mean, the MD is running Mayo Clinic, and they have a physician leader. And so I fancy myself, the personal trainer leader of our company. But he's not the best MD. He's not the best surgeon in all of Mayo Clinic. And I'm not the best trainer at Discover Strength. And I think that's okay. I still think it's important that I'm a trainer and important that I see clients, but I don't think I have to be the best. And really, it's the best interest of the business that I'm not the best, and that we're growing other just absolute stars. And I think so many entrepreneurs and so many studio operators don't quite make that shift in their thinking.
No, I love that. And, I know one of the concerns, I'm sure, coming up for business owners now is, okay, that's fine. So I should perhaps, if I've got a similar goal and I need to start thinking about bringing people on early and migrating clients to them, how do I find the right people? And now I have covered this in a separate episode, which may be out by the time this comes out, with actually the guys over at Rock Solid Fitness. But I'd love to hear your view quickly on I guess, how to find the right people, because we're in an industry where it's obviously, as you know all too well, people are kind of brainwashed by a lot of the bad practices in health and fitness out there. So it's sometimes quite hard to find someone who's got kind of an evidence-based approach to exercise.
Yeah. So we could talk about this for the next 6 hours. I will not do that. I will give you like 3 bullets. Number one, in the interview process from day one, you tell them that we're going to use this evidence-based approach. And so the question we use in the interview process is this. It's going to sound like I'm reading it, but I'm not reading it. If you found out that everything you knew about exercise and strength training was actually incorrect, meaning it wasn't supported by the preponderance of evidence, would you be willing to change everything you currently do about exercise and strength training? And then the follow-up is, if yes, how can you be so sure? So we're basically staring at the candidate and saying, hey, you have some experience strength training yourself. Maybe you've been a personal trainer for years. What if all of it's wrong? And I mean, wrong is maybe too strong of a word. What if it's misguided and you really should be taking a different approach? Would you be willing to abandon all of it? And so they look right at us and have to tell us, yes, I would abandon everything. And if there's any hesitation to that, then we say, no, this person is absolutely wrapped up into their preconceived notions of how to train. So you set that expectation right off the bat. So I think that circumvents so much of it. And then if you have a great process for teaching people about high intensity training, I mean, the stuff that our staff have to do in the first 2 weeks, we call it the School of Personal Training Bachelor's, is the first 2 weeks of being at Discover Strength. I mean, the amount of articles you have to read and the books that you have to interact with and the classroom sessions and the shadowing and the getting trained and the training. And you go through something called Essentials, where we break down every component of how to perform a repetition, how to, perform an advanced overload technique. You can't go through that for 2 weeks and not be bought into kind of the high intensity training methodology. So that's from a training standpoint. And I guess the third thing I would say is you have to have both the right person, and then they have to really be in the right seat. So the right person is just someone that's aligned with your core values. And there's just very few companies that are very crystal clear about what their core values are. So today, Lawrence, right when we get off this podcast, I'm going to go down to our big conference room, and I will have 22 candidates for a job in a group interview. And this is the first interview they have in a 4-interview process. And in that interview, I'll look at all 22 of them, and I will say, these are our 4 core values. Learning is a core value. This is what learning means. Servant leadership is a core value. This is what it means. Science-based is a core value. Here's what it is. So I'll go through those 4 core values, and I'll say, if you believe in these 4 things, you should come work with us. If you don't believe in these 4 things, you should not come work with us, because you're not going to be happy here. You're not going to be engaged. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be ejected like a virus because you just do not align with the culture. Our culture is just living the core values. So when we say, is it the right person? The right person is not abstract. The right person is, are they aligned with each one of our core values? I think you just have to be explicit about that up front. Attract people based on that core value fit. Now, every once in a while, you're going to be wrong, and you find out 6 months into it, or they find out 6 months into it, I guess I really wasn't committed to this core value of learning. It's really not in my own DNA. But most of the time, we attract people that believe in what we believe. So that's the right person. And then the right seat means, can they actually do the job? So you have to define what the job actually is. And interestingly enough, of all the different high-intensity training practitioners that are out there, studios and gyms, we think we're all doing the same thing in terms of the job, but it's actually very different. I have colleagues that think sales and marketing for the individual trainer is part of their job. Okay, so if that's what you think, that you better make sure that you're hiring someone that can perform that and you're holding them accountable to that. For us, you are not, as a trainer, you are not going to do sales and marketing because we have somebody else doing that. But you're going to do client retention. So you better be retaining the clients that you're working with. So that would be one of the key things, the key roles of that particular trainer. So you have to hire the right person. They're aligned with core values, and you have to get them in the right seat, meaning can they do the things that you expect them to do as a trainer?
Thank you for that. And I just had a vision of Boiler Room, that scene where Ben Affleck walks into the room with all of the candidates.
Absolutely.
Is it just like that?
It is not like that at all.
You throw your keys across the table, right?
No, it's not too similar to that, but that is an epic scene. I agree. It's a great scene.
Do you watch it for motivation beforehand sometimes?
No, I haven't. I actually it would probably put me in the wrong mindset. That'd be a little bit too aggressive. I'm sure.
And I'm sure yours is far more ethical and not just obviously all about the money, which that scene is very much about. No, that was that was really interesting. And thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that is incredibly useful for listeners. Just, I guess, going back to this focus on delegation, I'd love to hear, we've talked obviously about how you started delegating and bringing on a team and that kind of thing when you first started out. How do you think about delegation as a concept in your business now?
Well, I'm gonna share like the detailed answer to that,
Great.
But maybe before we get into that, I just want to make one comment. This is the underpinning of an entrepreneur that grows from a very small business and moves through the stage of being awkwardly small, but definitely not big yet. The foundation of that growth is you as an entrepreneur, you as the personal trainer, and this applies to every conceivable business model, all different types of entrepreneurs. Can you make the jump from you doing the work yourself to getting other people to do the work in the exact way that you would do it? That's the key. There's something magical that allows this personal trainer to grow this clientele where you're working with a few people a week and suddenly you have 10, 12, 14 appointments a day and you could go 6 days a week like that or 7 days a week. What is it about you that's magical? And I don't just mean a momentum-free transition and a repetition or the fact that you have a Medix machine. Both are important. But I mean, what is it about your personality? What is it about how you coach? What is it about the broader customer experience that makes people want to come back to you? You have to figure that out and you have to get it down on paper. And then you have to say, how do we mechanize this? How do we hire people and teach them the foundational aspects that are actually getting someone excited about this experience? And some entrepreneurs actually resist going through that exercise because you feel like just an arrogant jerk. I mean, I had to, I read this out of literally out of a book, and it said, you as the entrepreneur have figured out to do something that's really cool that people will pay money for. Now, if you ever want to grow, you got to teach other people to do it exactly how you do it. And so I've had to, and I haven't ever said this out loud to my team or my staff, that, hey, the ability to discover strength to grow is to figure out how to get everybody else to do it exactly like I do it. But that is literally the underpinning of an entrepreneurial organization growing. So that's what we got to think about. I think your listenership should think about what makes me so good at what I'm doing. All of the intangibles, get it all down on paper and say, what of this can I mechanize? And how can I teach this to the other people that are enjoying the organization? That's number one. That is the obsession. If your direct report, if your employee, if your trainer starts to stray from doing things the way you would do it, and I don't mean in every nuanced way, I mean in the key result areas that you've identified, then you're going to struggle. So that's the starting point, and I think that's where people should focus. Now, as a company grows, you got to think about like 4 quadrants. So you just think about, what do I love and I'm great at is in the top left quadrant. So just make a list of all the things I'm doing in a day and a week that I love doing and that I'm great at. And then to the right of that, so we just have a quadrant, 4 different little boxes. To the right of that is things I like and I'm good at. So love and great at in the top left, like and good at, top right. The bottom left is I don't like, but I'm still good at. And the bottom right is I don't like and I am not good at. So on the left, we have top is love great, right is like good, then don't like and not good is bottom left, and don't like and not good is bottom right. Okay. So you can kind of sketch that out. And then you just put a list. You create a list in each one of those quadrants. And I routinely do this. I do it about once a quarter because the work is changing. Over 12 years, things are changing. And so what I like and what I'm good at changes. And really the needs of the business change. I mean, early on, what did the business need? The business needed me to train a lot of people. The business needed me to vacuum a lot. The business needed me to clean bathrooms. And so I may have put, honestly, for vacuuming, I like vacuuming and I'm good at it. So I put like and good. Well, as time goes on, you want to find a way to make sure that you're doing, as the owner, you want to, and any leader, you want to be doing as much of the love and great quadrants. I mean, those are the things that you're genetically encoded to be successful at. I mean, when you're doing those things, you're truly in your sweet spot. I mean, God gave each one of us certain talents. You are probably playing to those talents and those unique abilities when you're in that love great quadrant. Now, as we move and the business grows over time, there's going to be times where we can't stay in the love great all the time. There's times you have to do things that I don't like and I'm not good at. So I used to write myself handwritten cards to every single client as a new client. And I put that in my quadrant of don't like and not good at. But I knew it was important still. So now we have a person that writes handwritten cards to all of our clients. Don't like, but I'm still good at was doing our payroll. I didn't like doing payroll, did payroll every 2 weeks for years and years and years, and I would just dread it. And so eventually I got to the point where, hey, this is in the quadrant of I don't like it, but I'm good at it. I'm attention to detail is pretty good and I can handle it. And eventually we hired somebody else to do that. Another example for don't like, but pretty good at, was just scheduling interviews. Like I would just have candidates nonstop emailing me and I'm schedule interviews and meetings. And now I will never schedule an interview or schedule a meeting. Somebody else will do that. And then I think about what do I love and what am I great at? So I love attending our weekly leadership team meeting. I love working on leadership development for all of our managers. I love working on the research projects that we've done with James Fisher and James Steele. I really enjoy strategy. I love planning. I love working on the business. So tomorrow all day, our leadership team will be off-site and we'll have an off-site meeting all day where we plan the next quarter. We're thinking about the big strategic issues. I mean, I could not show up to work for a full quarter and just show up to that meeting and I would provide value because it's really, that's really what I should be doing. I love teaching staff about strength training. I love teaching staff about customer service. So I just have this list of things that I love that I'm actually great at. And just make sure I'm doing those things as much as possible. So that's the mindset. Are we moving toward love and great? And are we trying to delegate everything else?
This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, ARX. Are you looking to create a cutting-edge, high-intensity training facility? Are you confused on what equipment to use or how to separate yourself from the masses? Well, then ARX Fit might be the answer you're looking for. I asked Mike Polano from ARX a few questions about how ARX machines are challenging the status quo of the exercise industry around the globe. Mike, if you could, give the listeners a quick summary of why ARX is so different from the traditional machines or tools they're used to seeing in most exercise facilities.
ARX is totally different than anything you've seen before. This isn't just another weight stack machine. We've looked at the last 40 years of exercise technology and used that knowledge to create something entirely new. ARX uses a new form of resistance, a motor, and we pair that motor with computer software so that we can maximize the safety, effectiveness, and efficiency of your workouts. So you may be asking, okay, but how does ARX compare to weights? Traditional machines you see in gyms today are based on lifting metal weights and battling gravity. What people don't realize is that when you're forced to lift a static weight like this, one that doesn't adapt or change while you use it, you're underloading yourself rep after rep. And this unnecessarily limits your ability to make improvements. With ARX, we've taken a totally different approach. We removed weights and gravity from the equation altogether. Instead, ARX combines our patented motorized resistance with our custom computer software to provide you with the world's safest, most effective, and most quantified form of resistance training ever. When you train with ARX, you are training to your perfect level of resistance, both positively and negatively 100% of the time. No more guessing what weight to use. ARX does all of that for you, instantly and automatically. We'll also track and measure every second of every rep, so you can quantify all of your workouts to find out if you're improving and by exactly how much. Whether your goals are bigger muscles, increased strength, stronger bones, or just to look good in a bathing suit, ARX can help you achieve all of these and more, but do so in a fraction of the time it would take compared to traditional equipment. If you're looking for the most efficient, most effective, and most quantified piece of exercise equipment on the market today, then look no further than ARX.
Thanks, Mike. That all sounds really impressive. If you'd like to learn more about ARX, visit arxfit.com and mention that you heard about ARX on the Corporate Warrior podcast to receive an exclusive deal of $500 off shipping and installation off your ARX machines. That was great. I've got a few questions on that. This is a few kind of nitty gritty questions. The quadrant exercise, you said you do that perhaps once a quarter. Do you put that as a recurring reminder in your calendar? How do you remember to do that?
Well, once a week, I do a clarity break, so it's once a week at the same time every week, where I sit with no technology and just a notebook and a pen. And I would just want to do deep thinking and writing about whatever I'm thinking about. And I usually store up some topic. Like, I'm going to do a clarity break around, this topic. And so I just sit and think deeply and write about that topic. And then I have it in this notebook so I can go back and look at all of these thoughts and understand, where am I actually falling on this particular issue? And so in one of those clarity breaks, I'll do this exercise. And I literally just did it like a week ago. And so I had a list of all of the things that at this stage of the business, am I doing, the right work? What should I be involved with and what shouldn't I be involved with? So I had a massive change. One of the things I wanted to be involved with is the employee's first day of employment. We've had just a smattering of different activities that they're doing that first day. They're diving in right away with their manager and they're learning about how to set seats and weights on different machines and all paperwork and all this stuff. So I decided, no, I want to be involved in that employee's first day. So we're now only going to let an employee start working at Discover Strength on one day a year. And I just have it on my calendar for the next 12 months of when that day is going to be. And I'll take all the new employees for their first day. And we'll talk about the vision of the business. And we're going to drive to one of our locations and do a workout together. And we're going to go to lunch. And we're going to do all these activities together, but I'm going to own that whole first day. Yeah, the goal is to create a significant emotional experience on that first day. So I want to hold on to that. I think I should be doing that. And there's a lot of things that I've said, okay, I have to stop doing. So I do that in that clarity break. And I'm looking at the date of the clarity break right now. I just flipped open my notebook because it's here. It was June 15th. I was running a half marathon the next day, and I was at one of my favorite hotels about 2 hours north here, and was just in a comfortable chair and just sitting and writing. And that's what I came up with on that day.
Yeah, I saw the pics on Instagram. How did you get on in that run in the end?
It was good. It was my second fastest half marathon to date. And so I would love to run a little bit faster, but I was thrilled with it. We had perfect weather to run fast, and it went really well.
What was the time?
I ran an hour and 26 minutes and 30 seconds. Very good. So it was a 6:36 or 6:37 per mile. And I know that doesn't mean anything to your European listeners.
No, it's I'm sure they surely understand, and no, it's impressive. This is so inspiring hearing you talk about this. The idea of a clarity break. You hear this being described sometimes as just a reflection period. It's such a healthy activity to do. I certainly need to do it more. And whenever I do it, it's incredibly productive for me. How much time would you set aside to do that?
I schedule an hour, and every once in a while it'll turn into 45 minutes, but I schedule an hour. And I think everyone's different. Some people, hey, it's once a month for a couple hours. Some people, it's once a week for 30 minutes. But the starting point for me is putting it in your calendar and getting in the routine of doing it. And then you can change how you do it. I think you have to pick where you're doing it, and you have to pick when. So it's in your calendar. For some people, it's in their home office. For some people, it's in their backyard in a favorite chair on a patio. For some people, it's the perfect Starbucks. For me, it's a coffee shop that's really close to my condo that I'll always go to. But if I'm traveling, I will look forward to and plan where I'm going to do a clarity break. I have some favorite spots, different places that I know are going to be a part of my travel. And I'm picturing in November, I was in New York. Late October, I was in New York, and I love New York City. And I said, I'm going to do a clarity break in front of Rockefeller Center, overlooking like the ice skating rink. And I'm going to have my notebook open. I'm going to sit in the chair. I know where the chair or the park bench is, in the middle of the day. And I'm just going to write and kind of be inspired by my surroundings. So I'll mix it up where I'm actually going to do it.
Very cool. And, you mentioned earlier about how you talked about the thank you cards, and you said how it fell into that bottom fourth quadrant, I believe. And how do you decide that you're not good at something? I mean, that might sound like a silly question, but in this,
for
example,
me, the not good at it was I would always have a list of all these cards I'd have to send. I got them emailed to me, and then eventually I had literally the envelopes prepared and addressed and everything, and I still wasn't doing them. I was supposed to do them, let's say, on a Friday, and by the end of the weekend, I still hadn't done them. So not good at it was I just always procrastinated it and never did it. Like it was not something that I was consistent with. So I thought, this is not getting done. I am not good at this. And sometimes it's more obvious. It's more like truly a skill where you just say, I struggle with this. It is just difficult, and it saps the life out of me to even try to engage in this.
Because, go on.
So one example for me is I do not know how to fix equipment or tinker with equipment. So if like something's wrong with a Medix machine, I'm not about to take it apart and play with it. And so many of your listeners like can they can actually alter cams, and they have shops, and they can build things, and they can tweak things. I can't do any of it. If it doesn't work, I just turn to someone else and say, you got to figure out how to fix this, because I just don't know how to. And so for me, that was something that I don't like, and I'm definitely not good at. So I'm not going to spend any time on it whatsoever.
Yeah, I can definitely see myself slipping into the same category on that one for sure. I mean, it's interesting because going back to the thank you card, now you're someone who I would assume, is a strong communicator. So I imagine you're quite good at coming up with sentimental things to say and write. So that's why I asked that question, because I thought I wouldn't think you'd struggle to come up with something good to say. But then you put it in the context of, well, I was putting it off, so that's the reason. So that completely makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. And one of the other things that's important to realize is as the business grows, we're trying to stay in the quadrant of love and great at. And then we want to spend most of the rest of our time in like and good at. We want to stay out of the don't like and good at, and don't like not good at. But what you realize is as you grow, you even have to give up things that you like and that you're good at. And I'm definitely going through that stage right now. Sorry, my marketing director is looking through the glass at me and trying to sign language me whether or not I want something to eat for lunch. And my answer was no. So I'm in that stage right now where there's a million things I love doing, and I think I'm pretty good at them. But my team still reminds me, Luke, you can't do that anymore. You have to be focusing on your highest return activity. And we've maybe talked about this in previous podcasts, but you can get addicted to being busy. You can get addicted to just having a full day. Today, like my day started at 6 a.m. and I will get done. We have our summer intensive internship program. The final day is tonight, and all of our students give a presentation to the people that are involved in internship programs, a number of our staff. That'll end at like 9:30 p.m. tonight. So I can look at my day and think, wow, man, I'm really productive today. My day is packed from 6 a.m. until 9:30 p.m. What a great day. But then you have to look at your calendar and say, what did I do in my day today that actually, created progress and drove us toward our, what we want to accomplish this quarter or this year. And you look at, wow, I'm good at some of this stuff, but it's not the most important stuff that I can be doing. So it needs to be delegated. And it just takes so much conscious awareness of that, because Lawrence, we're so addicted to activity, and we're so addicted to the feeling of being productive and crossing things off of a to-do list.
Yeah. For sure. And that's a really important point. It's something I think about all the time in terms of, mistaking busyness for productivity. And we obviously did a podcast that focused very much on that before, which I'll link to. One of the things you told me before is that you still train clients occasionally. Clearly, as we've spoken about in this one, it's one of the first things you do end up delegating in a lot of cases. But is that something you still do? Do you still keep your skill set somewhat in play in that regard, in training clients every now and again?
Yeah, so maybe a clarification is we're delegating the training to other trainers, but I wouldn't even look at that as delegation. I would look at it as you have to create the opening for other trainers to be successful in your studio. Otherwise, you're just not going to grow. So in the first few years, I was still training a ton of clients, but I wanted to make sure I was creating an environment where they could be successful and they could grow, they could grow as well, so that the overall session numbers grew. I think, the first week that we were open, maybe we trained 45 clients all week. And, a few years into it, we're at 300, and then we moved to 500 sessions in a week. And obviously that wouldn't be possible if it were just me. So it's important to delegate early on, not so that you can just go do something else. Like, I do not think that the studio owner should stop training clients so they can go and do their bookkeeping. Heck no. The magic is on the exercise floor. Hire someone else to do your bookkeeping, delegate your bookkeeping, and get on the floor. And if you say, well, that's not the most important thing for me to be doing on the floor, I'm not generating enough revenue, then clearly raise your prices. I mean, I go back to the example of an attorney. The attorney is not delegating the law work so they can do the bookkeeping. They are delegating the bookkeeping so they can focus on the magic. So early on, you should still be training a heck of a lot. Now, I'm just at the point now where if I did all of training nonstop, I would love it. I think it'd be great. Nobody else would be running the business. And so I need to make sure that I'm running the business. Now, in terms of understanding how much training I should be doing right now, Lawrence, we are really myopically focused. All we do is strength training. We just don't do anything else. Mm-hmm. We're really focused on that one thing. So I couldn't imagine running a business where I wasn't intimately involved with like the tangible product or service that we created. If I ran a massive health club with 20 different profit centers and 1 million different programs and offerings, and if I wasn't involved teaching or making the actual smoothie or, whatever it is in all those profit centers, that would be okay because there's just too many of them. But all we do is one-on-one and small group strength training workouts. If I lose touch with that, then I feel like I've really lost touch with the business. So for me, every Sunday morning, I see 6 or 7 clients in a row from 7:30 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. So that's been my Sunday routine forever. And then Mondays, if I'm not traveling, so I try to preserve these Mondays. I see clients for about 4 hours in the morning at one of our locations. And then I go to a different location in the evening and see clients for about 4 hours in the evening. And we have 4 locations opening now. So that rotates every week so that I'm seeing different locations in the AM, different locations in the PM. And so I'm seeing a lot of clients on that Monday. The goal on Monday is to see about 12 to 13 clients on a Monday. And I can see about 6 clients on a Sunday, and then that's no clients the rest of the week.
How do you have the energy to do all that every single week? In terms of the Sunday routine, I know a lot of people listening to be like, how do you do that, Luke?
Well, the Sunday routine, you got to know yourself. The Sunday routine is purely selfish. I start at 7:30 a.m. So I think, well, that's not too bad for me to get up at 7:30. It's not 6 a.m. or it's not Doug Holland like 4 a.m. So I can handle being there at 7:30. And the sweet spot for me is 6 one-on-one sessions in a row. And all of your listeners have a great feel of, how many clients they can kind of work through before they need a little bit of a break. For me, it's 6 in a row. That's 3 hours straight of clients. And if I get to 7 or 8, that feels like a lot to me. But 3 hours of work on a Sunday morning is like productive. I'm generating revenue for the business, and I'm really learning and understanding what's going on the floor. But I haven't shot my whole day. So I'm walking out of there at like 10:40, and I have the rest of the day in front of me. And I use Sunday to, I go to church on Sundays, and Sundays I'm in a class at Stanford right now for a year. So I do all of my homework on Sundays. So I still feel like I have that Sunday preserved. And I absolutely don't see any clients ever on a Saturday. So it's compartmentalized, and it just works.
Ah, cool. So what are you studying?
This is a year-long program through their graduate school on it's called executive leadership. So it's really 3 topics. It's strategy is one topic. Second topic is innovation. And the third topic is really around how to align an organization to actually bring in an innovation to life.
Awesome. What do you see? We've talked a little bit about some of the mistakes you see in the high intensity training or strength training industry around delegation, some of the pitfalls. But can you elaborate on, I guess, where you see mistakes that businesses make, conversations you have with business owners where you're thinking, or you spot where they might be making some serious errors?
Yeah. So 2 comments. The first one, from purely a high intensity training standpoint, is you just can't be married to the client. You just, you have to be able to break away from the client and work on your business and not in your business. And a lot of those things sound like cliches, but, I see it every single day and every single week where someone can't do what's necessary to actually grow their business because they're busy just training a client. And there's an opportunity, there's work that they could do that would help their business grow, $50,000 or $100,000 in revenue for the year. But they are focused on, well, I gotta, I have to train these clients, which is, we're talking a few $100 in revenue or a few $1,000 in revenue. So that's the biggest one, is you have to get away from your clients and trust other people and train other people to train those clients. And then the second answer is, are we thinking critically about what should actually be delegated? Because I've made that mistake before. I've said, oh, we're getting bigger, I can't do that anymore. And I thought, no, I have to be doing that. That's one of the epiphanies I had around this, what we're calling day one, where an employee's first day, I want to run that first day. I haven't seen an employee on a first day in years. We took 5 employees out to a happy hour last night. I literally hadn't met 4 of those employees ever, and they'd been working with us for 2-3 weeks now. And I just knew that that's wrong. Like, we're not that big. I mean, I can be with someone on their first day. So I know that's the most important use of my time, is for me to talk about the culture and the vision and where the company's going and how important that person is and that overarching vision. So I couldn't replace myself in that. I shouldn't try to automatize that. I shouldn't try to, create a video or an online module that introduces our employee to the company. It should just be me. And so I guess I've seen some entrepreneurs struggle with, what should I be delegating and what should I be hanging on to? Where sometimes we hang on to the wrong things. Sometimes we hang on to the things that we're the most comfortable with. And I have been incredibly guilty of that. And so it really goes back to what I said maybe a few minutes ago, is just the deep critical thinking on, is this something I should truly hang on to? And a great way to address this is, if you have a team, if you have, coworkers, if you have employees, is ask them, what am I hanging on to that I should not be hanging on to? So I had a lunch with our VP of operations yesterday, and David, and I just said, what am I hanging on to that I should not be hanging on to, that you should be running with? Or where are we unclear? You think you're hanging on to it. I kind of think I'm hanging on to it. And let's just get real clear. It is completely yours. Your arms are wrapped around it. In order to delegate, you cannot delegate. It's impossible to delegate until you have the right person in the right seat. It's impossible. So if you ever feel like you can't delegate to the few employees that you do have, the main symptom is, well, it is the wrong person, or they're in the wrong seat. That delegation only becomes possible when you truly have the right person to delegate to.
Yeah, great answer. No, I really appreciate you sharing a lot of the great stuff you shared on this one, Luke. This has been so enjoyable. Before we wrap up, I'd really just like to talk about one more thing. I know a lot of people that have come across the podcast who either started a business as a result of listening to the show, or were rejuvenated and re-inspired from listening to it. And, we were talking offline before we got started about just the tremendous opportunity in the kind of high intensity training or strength training industry. I'd love to hear how you think about the opportunity out there for, a lot of the business owners who are listening to this.
Very interesting question. And my answer to that, and if there's one message I could get across to, any of your listeners or anyone that's really in the business side of high intensity training, is that we have dramatically underestimated the upside potential of a high intensity training studio or business. I would, so many studio operators that I love and I respect, and I've read their books and I go visit them, and I just have learned so much from them. But we are chronically underestimating what that upside is. We have people that are doing 150 and $200,000 in revenue in the studio business. And they're thinking, this is really good, but you can't make much money in this business. Over the last 2 years, I've heard that quote from so many people. You can't really make much money in this business. They're just dead wrong. I mean, I know because I look at the numbers of our worst performing facility is doing, I think, on track for $870,000 this year. And that's in not very much square foot. We don't have it. We have some medics and some Hammer and some Nautilus, but we don't have equipment that nobody else has access to. We're not in a market that's just an incredible market. We're kind of in a normal market. The upside, and that's our worst performing location. The upside potential in this business is absolutely enormous. And I think it all comes down to, if you as the entrepreneur, if you as the studio operator, if you understand that, man, everything changes. If you think, hey, is it worth it to really grind and move from 150 to $200,000 in revenue? Maybe that's not worth it. But understand that 700, 800, 900, 1.1, 1.2 million dollars, $1.3 million in 1,500 square feet, I can't convert that to meters, is so doable. So the upside is just greater than we'd ever imagined.
So basically, there's a lot of opportunity there, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Massive opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's so inspiring. And I'm sure the listeners find that incredibly useful. Luke, it's always so enjoyable to talk. And this has been another, really, really enjoyable episode. Really appreciate you coming on the show again. What's the best way for the listeners to find out more about you?
Yeah, so I would say 3 things. Shoot me an email. It's luke@discoverstrength.com. So I'm pretty good at email. Get back to anybody. And then if you ever want to know about Discover Strength, it's discoverstrength.com. And then I do this course a couple times a year with Jim Flanagan, where it's just a 2-day deep dive into all aspects of the business and the systems and so forth. And the course was created purely to funnel people that heard me speak different places, that really wanted to grow their business. And we said, okay, here's the deal. We'll talk about all the systems and everything that's needed to grow the business. And that's, the website is therealhitexperience.com, therealhitexperience.com.
Cool. And I'll link to all of that in the show notes. And to find the blog post and show notes for this episode, please go to corporatewarrior.co/delegate. And for all episodes, please go to corporatewarrior.co/podcast. And until next time, guys, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Before you head off, head on over to corporatewarrior.co/ebook to get a bunch of goodies, including 1, a free ebook of podcast transcripts with some of my top guests like Dr. Doug McGuff, Drew Bay, and Bill Simone on how to optimize muscle gain, fat loss, and overall health in an efficient, effective, and sustainable way. 2, a free high-intensity training business checklist to help you get more clients in your business. And 3, a free high-intensity training Google Sheet to help you track and improve your training progress. Head on over to corporatewarrior.co/ebook now and enter your email address for instant access. This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field.